wedding season is in full swing, and while couples focus on love and romance, they also need to keep their finances in sync.
Yeah, Tammy Trenta is the founder and CEO of Family Financial, and she joins us now with the 10 money topics couples should discuss before the relationship they take it to the next level. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, ladies.
All right, so before we get to the list, can you first explain how you actually came up with these topics?
Well, I've been engaged 3 times, married twice, and divorced once. So, but seriously, I work with a lot of families and couples that are in different stages of their relationship. I help them before they get married, when they're going through divorce. And so when couples are coming together and deciding to share a life together, it's really important to have these discussions in advance and set a healthy foundation for their future.
And you say the first 3 of those discussion topics are income, debt, and budget. What specific information should couples talk about here?
Well, certainly couples should know the amount of income that each other makes. I think that's really important. But I think what's more important is what they're bringing into the relationship. If they have a lot of student loans or credit card debt, what their habits are. I mean, do they carry revolving balances? I think we all are raised with certain habits that we learn perhaps from our parents or our own life experiences, and coming together and discussing how you're going to handle that as a unit, I think is really important.
Okay, so next you say savings plans and deciding whether or not to have joint separate accounts or both. Is it okay also to have a secret account that, your spouse doesn't know about?
Well, I think that trust and transparency is the foundation of every healthy relationship. But that said, when you start to feel distrust in a relationship, it's not uncommon for somebody to have a slush fund, as they call it, account. But when you're starting off, you really want to be transparent about those things.
Okay, let's talk about some of the 2 biggest expenses, housing and personal expenses. You may have one person in the relationship who spends more than the other. What decisions need to be made here when you're starting a life together?
So when people are starting a life together, I think, like you mentioned, housing is a big one. Will you rent? Do you want to buy a home? How much have you saved, or do you plan to save to achieve that goal? What's the time frame? And I think the most critical component is how are you going to share in the costs of those joint expenses? Should it be 50-50? Should it be based on what each other brings in income? And so those are really important discussions to lay out so that one person doesn't feel like they're taking on the lion's share of the expenses.
So you had actually mentioned debt, and we had a divorce attorney on the show that said that you can actually put that in a prenup, that you don't take on the other person's debt. So when it comes to prenup, how do we bring those things up?
Well, the prenuptial agreement is always a sensitive subject. And I think in an ideal situation, they're necessary, especially if one person is bringing significant assets to a marriage, or maybe they have entanglements in a family business. And these are things that do need to be addressed before you make that commitment. Having an independent third party is a great way to broach the subject. So if you meet with a financial planner, they can easily talk about what you guys are bringing into the marriage and how do you want to handle those things, and will there be a prenuptial agreement? So it brings up the topic without it seeming like one person is trying to force it over another person.
Yeah, it may be a sensitive topic, but these are all important things to discuss before you walk down the aisle. Tammy, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of your thoughts on this.
Thank you.
And for more financial advice, you can follow Tammy on Instagram at Tammy Trenta.